Hello everyone, so I'm Melita Sari Purba. I'm the one of the presenters of research project today. And first I say thank you for all of you, especially for Bu Yanti for giving me the chance to present this article, which has titled The Denial of Ideology and Perceptions of Non-Native Speaker Teacher by Hadrian Holiday and also Pamela Abushiha in 2019. So in this article, the problem exists with a general acceptance that the traditional non-native speaker teacher label for teachers of English is problematic on social-linguistic ground and also can be a source of employment discrimination and the prejudice against non-native speaker teachers, which is deep and sustained, but it is not recognized well because of the denial of the ideology. So we can say that ideology is the system of idea which is we put to justify or maintains, or it can be used as the weapon to the social interest. Just okay. And the denial of the ideology itself has two. The first front is perception of the objectivity and accountability in the dominant modernist research, and the second is individualism and collectivism, which appear on the surface to be neutral. So here there is a modernist research paradigm. It means that modernist refers to objectivity, which based on empirical evidence. And meanwhile, in this article also, there is a postmodern. Postmodern is a research with what I say, a research which think about the subjectivity. Okay, so issue with the research methodology in this paper is the first is struggle to be objective. So we know that if it is objective, it refers to quantitative, and it involves many people. So meanwhile, when it is brought to the subjectivity perspective, non-empirical evidence, for example, interview and questionnaires data, is provided to support, and the analysis to be based on the author on presupposition. So there is a struggle from the subjectivity to objectivity, and also the scientific engagement with the subjectivity. So as I said before, so modernists have accessed deep social meaning and maintaining the objectivity, and also, however, postmodern, there is subjectivity engagement to dig deeper and reveal the hidden thing. So the hidden thing means that there is, if it is in modernist, we can, what I say, generalize something from a group of people, and it is objective because there are a lot of people involved in the research. Meanwhile, if it is postmodern, it is refers to subjectivity research, and sometimes it cannot be generalized, but in this case it is needed to be listened, and it is needed to be what I say, it is needed to be taken into consideration that it is important for the research. And non-native speaker teachers and race. So The denial of ideology here refers to non-native speaker teachers, and it also refers to racism. So it is said that there is a hidden racism in TESOL professionalism, which it seems like, what I say, it is not recognized, but it's there. And non-native speakers have been discriminated against in employment because of historical widespread belief. So there is a widespread belief that non-native speakers are not better than native speakers teacher. And the discrimination can be racist here. For example, the image of a native speaker teacher is associated with the whiteness. So mostly we think that there is a stereotype that a native speaker teacher must be white, and it becomes belief of the society. And also superior identity of native speaker teacher endlessly reinforced through the teacher career. So it seems like the native speaker teacher has superiority identity regarding to their pronunciation, their British educational background, their understanding about language teaching, and also about their classroom understanding. Yeah, that's it. And spoken native speaker teacher discourse, that is discrimination. So there is discrimination because of being non-native speaker. So the learners reject the teacher because he is not white, for example. Even though this case it is not articulated in the service, or the learners didn't say it in words, but it exists, an unspoken discourse that learners would not accept a non-native speaker teacher. So so many people just think that, consider that a native speaker teacher is white. And here there is racism. Maybe we think that we are not racism, but racism may not longer associate with the color. Perhaps we are not racism in color, but we racism in belief or in linguistic. And the racism on the non-native speaker teacher also refers to professional ideology. Okay, and then issue with the culture. So the key to a possible lack of awareness with regard to race and perception of the speakerhood is the preoccupation with the culturals, a neutral entity. So we think that on the surface we didn't realize that there is discrimination in terms of, for example, race, but in the surface it's just seems like neutral. But if we go deep, it is exist. And the culture is established location of problems associated with language learning behavior and content. So that's why there are deep contradictions. There is contradictory ideology, and also there is principle conflicting with the chauvinistic attitude ideology. So chauvinistic is just like strong patriotistic attitude. Okay, unlocking action within structure. So national culture is treated as a system which contains the complementary elements of every aspect of social life, social culture, the behavior, values, and ideology, and each of them telling us something about the other. It means that all of them all of them are separated but connected. It presents people's individual behavior as divine as and constrained by the national culture in which they live, so that the stereotype becomes the essence of who they are. So, what I say, the stereotype which exists becomes the parameter for the society to define who they are, who the non-native speaker teacher, who are the native speaker teachers. And this is the liberal essentialist duality. So it's the liberal denial of ideology. So we know that liberalism is desire for truth and fairness, right? Acceptance of diversities. It's just like, yeah, what I say, have freedom in high capacity. And essentialism is belief in the neutrality of cultural description, racist cultural description. It's just like that someone who puts their ideology in essentialism is believe that cultural description is more important uh, than the subjectivity itself. So when those what I say ideology met, it becomes liberal essentialist duality. And in this case, we sometimes didn't realize that we have our own belief as teachers, but we do the different thing which has contradictory with our belief, since the thing that we do is concerned with our affiliation and also the belief on the foreign language. Yeah, so there is we didn't realize that there is a contradictory of those two ideology. It's just like liberalism and essentialism. And searching for the new structure. So the first is culture as social action and politics. So here social action theory places social culture, social structure, politics, religion, the economy, and so on, and ideology and culture, all of them in dialogue. So they have, what I say, relationship each other. And culture connected with other aspect of society. It's just like sociolinguistic. We know that the using of language can be affected by culture, and also culture is affected by language. And the multi-active political picture of culture is also consonant with the picture, so in which a group of sociolinguistic writes about culture not as a set of discrete describable entities. And so this is searching for the new structure, considering the native speaker label as the political act. So on the left side there is statements about culture and also about cultural sources, global position and politics, and also universal behavior pattern. And on the right side, we see that the labeling of some teachers as non-native speakers. So for example, statement about culture. So ideological expressions of self in relation to other, an artifact of how people see themselves rather than objective descriptions of culture. So that is the statement about culture. Meanwhile, there is a labeling for non-native speakers that mostly come from, because they are mostly come from collectivist cultures and therefore do not have the value necessary for teaching English. And this is a statement, not a fact, because if we go to the postmodern or we consider the subjectivity, the fact can be different. And this would explain why some Northern European non-native speakers can pass as native speaker teachers. Okay. And conclusions. So in this article, the purpose has not been established exactly. That there is a deep racist ideology within the fabric of Western TESOL professionalisms, but to suggest how we need to look at our professionalism to address its possibility and to reassess what counts as evidence. So, the racist ideology between the non-native speaker teacher and native speaker teacher still exists, but it cannot be, what I say, revealing. It cannot be revealing. And the position of power requires recognizing the non-native speaker label and the attendant description of what teachers from particular culture can or cannot do as ideological as embodying a politic of Calvinism, which is a fact racist. And once again, I say, racism may no longer still only about color, but also about belief, about culture, about linguistic. And an understanding of culture should be used not to label people, but to get to the bottom of how and why they label the other. So by understanding, what I say, there is a perception between non-native speaker teacher and also native speaker teacher, and there is perspective they have different ideology, but by understanding the culture, so we don't need to label them with especially racism. And there is additional source about identity and dilemma, the native speaker English language teacher in globalizing world by Abu Shiha, 2007. With the burning issue, globalization has created pressure for a lingua franca, and the continued relevance of native speaker pronunciation methodology and professional status of the native speaker teacher compared with the non-native speaker English language teacher. And the result is, it appears that this native speaker English language teacher retain a view of themselves as having a superior professional identity based on their pronunciation, classroom practice, ethnicity, British educational background, and their relational stance to non-native speaker teachers. So the teachers' ambivalent relationships with both the new academic understanding of English language teaching and their own professional development appeared to contribute to a dilemma in their superiority identity construct. So they have construction that the native speaker English language teachers have a superior identity. It means that they are better than non-native speaker English language teacher, but it is not ambivalent, since we believe that the native speaker English language teachers are not always better than non-native speaker English language teachers. So it's just like dilemma with the superiority identity in terms of native speaker English language teachers. So that's all my explanation. Thank you for your attention.